So with my segment, as you guys know, is going to be based on the footprint. I'm not a footprint expert. I think experts belong in the hospital as doctors or in the engineering business. No offense, Chuck. It's Chuck, right? Or attorneys. If you want to be an expert, become an attorney. Craig, is that you? Craig's an attorney. Good to see you, Craig. Watch your wallets up in that corner. So, you don't want to be an expert. You just want to be, as someone mentioned when we were out the questions and answers, be good at being wrong. Experts aren't good at being wrong. It's important to be an expert as an attorney. And I only joke with Craig or doctors. It's important. Those jobs are important to be good at the detail. You get lost in the details with trading, and you overthink everything. The more you think, the worse you are. If you have to think when you're driving a car, you already hit the guy. If you have to think when you're flying a plane, you've already hit the guy. You gotta, right? That's close enough. So you gotta be diligently in a reactionary state. So what is the footprint? I got some cool exercises we're going to do to show you how you become part of the footprint, both physically and then in a live environment in the screen. We're going to affect the market in my segment. So my next two segments, the morning one and the afternoon one, is going to cover these points. What is the footprint and where do the numbers come from? How to read with proper rotation, the filter of the footprint, thin spots, and B2B transitional moments. I think B2B might be tomorrow. That's what we're going to get in the first 2 or 3 segments of me, and then I'm going to introduce this new chart I have tomorrow, the second or third segment that I do. So that's kind of what you're going to get out of me in my hourly segments here. I always start this in a webinar, and I say, well, let me do it at a workshop. You know, what is this? It's my father on the left, that's me on the right. And he always said, my brother's in the middle, he always says, if you know how, you'll have a job, but if you know why, you'll be the boss. Order flow and intermarket relationships are the why to trading. We're going to cover more order flow in this workshop because that's the footprint as a tool to read it. Now, the funny thing, if you look at the bottom right of this picture, I'm on my toes to seem a little taller than my brothers. They don't know that, but I am. All right, so we'll move on from that. The why is important. What is this? A simple traditional candlestick, in this case bars. They only show you so much. You take a bar out, what do we got? A footprint. Bunch of numbers don't mean anything. But it gives you some more information than high, low, open, close. And remember, for you guys that have learned either from me or The Edge, this is stuff you might have heard of. That's why it's basic in this day. But it's good refresher for those that have heard it, and obviously good for people that haven't. So what are these numbers? We're going to get into them in a second. But before we do that, if you don't know where they come from, everything else is irrelevant. All right? So this is a dome. It happens to be Market Delta Cloud, but a dome is a dome. As you guys know, they pretty much have the same functionality, right? Offers are up on the left. People looking to sell, people looking to buy. I put 3, 4 in here because we're going to use fictitious prices for example's sake. People in the blue and people in the red are not aggressive. They're patient. They might be playing games. They do play games. They put orders in, they take it out. Both the big boys and even people who aren't really ready to trade, they get nervous. They're like, okay, I'll bid it here now, maybe not. I'll bid it down in here, maybe not. And then, you know, it is real, but it isn't. That's why you can't just look at a dome with all those games that get played. But the footprint starts to show where people put money where their mouth is, all right? Forget about every buyer has a seller. Let a mathematician worry about that. It doesn't matter about the passive guys as much as it does the aggressive guys, all right? So here's what I want to do, and I think this will work out well. If it doesn't, well, we'll still have fun doing it. 3 bid at 4 is the fictitious price, right? If you guys are looking at a dome, just look at it like you are. Offers are on the right, and the bids are on the left. Make sense? Dave, Peter, George, come on up here. No, you're not going to, there's not, you're going to be made fun of. You'll take care of that yourself.
All right. Now you're going to find out how good we are at being wrong.
Yeah. For some reason, Christine, come up here. Phyllis, come up here. And Jeffrey. And by the way, Jeffrey is the youngest guy here. When he signed up, I want you guys on the left in a straight line. The 6-year-old kids that coach baseball listen better. All right. Well, anyways, listen, Jeffrey, when he signed up, I said, Jeffrey, here's a cocktail reception. Are you older? Are you 21? He said, I just turned 21. I'm like, yeah. All right, Jeffrey, I want you to stand here. And Phyllis, I want you to stand behind him. And Christine, stand behind Phyllis. All right. Now, if you're looking at this from just the perspective of the top of the room down, these 3 want to buy it, and these 3 want to sell it. Correct? Now, the way they're lined up, they're all patient. You're offering at 4, maybe you at 5, and maybe you at 6. You're bidding at 3, maybe you 2, maybe you 1. Make sense? You're more patient. You want to buy it a little lower for a reason to bid 3 bid. So they're in the blue, they're in the red. All right? Bids on the left, offers on the right. Now, again, if Jeff were to leave, don't leave, this 59 would look like 58, just for all intents and purposes. Should know that. Believe me, there are people, a lot of people, that don't get this concept, and they should. It's got to be back of your hand stuff. Now, well, what happens? What happens in any market? At some point, someone's got to say, I can't wait, I got to buy it. Or I can't wait, I got to sell it. I got to make a move. Maybe they get filled, maybe they don't. But if I'm resting a bid, someone must have said, the hell with it, I got to sell it, and that might be Peter. Someone's got to take the initiative, right? Aggressive buying or aggressive sellers. Carl,
Yep.
come on up here. We're going to make the bids.
Yeah, I know, yeah. I'm gonna be the guy.
You're going to add.
Stuck by, right?
No. You're getting a bid a little thicker, a little heavier. No, I'm not. That wasn't. That was not scripted. So you're going to join Jeffrey. You guys are both bidding from what price? 3, right?
Right.
Bid's thickening up. Now, it doesn't mean, well, the bid's bigger, it's going to go up sometimes, but not always. It's not a rule of thumb or prophecy that you could focus on. It's important to know that, hey, the bid is growing. So Carl finally says, I can't wait anymore. I'm going to buy Peter. Take him out. Not for real. Now you guys go sit down. Go sit down. Now look at the screen. You guys go sit down.
I'm trying to. You're in my way.
When Carl lifted Peter, he shows up on the right side of the X or on the footprint, right? You guys are still bidding. Come up and join Jeffrey and bid 3s. You're going to come up a step. Come up a step. You're offering 4s. You got to stay on an angle though, just like the dome. Price is in the middle on price. So George is going to like, you know what? I can't wait anymore. I got to take out one of the bidders. Take Jeffrey and you guys go sit down. Then look at the screen. He shows up. He shows up on the left side of the X. So Carl is that one. Oops. Carl is that one. George was that one. Forget about who they took out, who initiated it. So as a bidder, you're like, I gotta get filled. I'm gonna buy 4s. So go and take Dave and sit down. You're gonna show up there. Not Dave, Phyllis shows up as the 2. All right? Now the only one left is Christine. And what probably is going to happen is the 4s are going to go from offer to bid, and the market just moved. But before that, she's got a lot to buy, relatively speaking. And so she tries to buy 4s, and let's say you get filled, and there's a few contracts that you buy. If there were more people standing out, you lifted the 4s, and it would then turn to, if you bought 3 more, 5. What does that mean? Why is it green? Because in this sequence, in this little bit of the example, in this little moment in time, there were a hell of a lot more people aggressively buying it than selling it. Simple numbers, 5 to 1's 500%, right? That's it. Aggressive buyers outweighed the aggressive sellers. Just in this moment. That's it. That's where the numbers come from. You can sit down, Christine. Thank you. So if nobody was there at 4 for Christine to buy, she might say, I want to buy 4s. There's nobody's there. And guess what? 4 bid. These numbers would fill in here. Make sense? And then the 5s would be next up. And then there's that story that's being told. The faster a market moves, the more this story is being told faster. I'm going to show you this again in a live slow market and actually lose money on purpose. It costs about $15. Carl's going to reimburse me. But you know how this happens, right? You know this imbalance. Right side of the X aggressive buyers, left side of the X aggressive sellers. It's got to be back in your hand stuff, and you kind of understand it, how you become part. Now, I'm going to go to this dome in here. Could you guys see my cursor? Good. This is just the S&P minis. Let's center it up. This is the 2-year note. Why the 2-year note? Because it's a slow market. It's easy for this example. I do it in the ES. The offer might go bid go offer, get sloppy, and I want to just make a point. The far right here, we're going to pay attention to what would look like these. Of course, it gets busy when I'm going to do it. But we're going to look at these two numbers most likely. 4/4, 4/2. So forget what that number is right now. Look at this dome. The best bid is 4/4. The best offer is 4/2. All right? 2-year note. Don't worry about the market. Just know about best bid, best offer. This is our 3 and this is our 4 in the example, right? Now, this number is what's going to trade on the bid. This number is what's going to trade on the offer. These are people patiently looking to bid, people patiently looking to offer. When I put a real order in, look at this number, 17,904, 05. If this wasn't real, I couldn't have changed that, right? You got to know that. If I put another bid in, 06, you see a change? Pull it back to 04. Put in 3, 07. It was 5 and then 7, right? I'm resting bids, resting offers. But at some point, I'm like, I got to buy this damn thing. There's 96,717 contracts on the offer, and I'm going to lift one of them, which will make that 17 number go to 16, but more importantly, see this 29.97 number? Watch it turn to 98. See a change? What did I do? Aggressively buy or sell it? Bought it. I'm long 1. Long 1 at 4/2. This is a live account. Now watch this. When you see 65.84 go to 85, everybody go, ah. Ready? You just seen me lose $15 because I bought the offer and hit the bid. But if one person said, wow, really had that moment, it was worth it. Right? It was worth it. I just became both the right side and the left side. This was 97 and this was 84. If it wasn't for me right now doing that, it would have stayed there. We changed it. You guys changed it. You become part of the footprint. Also, we're following people who are becoming part of the footprint. We're following people that are making decisions based on being aggressive, right, or patient. And trust me, we'll build all this out into locations and everything else. So let's go back to the slides. How many people, though, honestly, didn't realize that when you bought and sold it, right? There's some people that didn't realize they become part of the footprint, yeah? And that's so important because if you're part of the footprint, everybody is when they trade. You become part of the bids, the offers, and then the traded price, all right?
I got a question, though, Anthony. Is that,
Let's make sure I don't have any orders left. Hold on. See, down 1563. You owe me that in a check. Cash probably would be better, right?
I'm right on it, buddy.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead with your question.
On the footprint, on the numbers that are there, that doesn't take into account the limit orders that are sold off at that level either, does it?
No.
Only aggressive. It's only showing the aggressive people.
In other words, and I'm glad you brought this up, buy market and sell market orders is what it's tracking.
Okay.
If you notice, both orders I put in, one was a buy market, one was a sell market. Those are the only ones that are going to show up on the footprint. In fact, a nice way to remember it is market orders are on the footprint, limit orders are in the dome, right? Limits patient, and market orders are inpatient. Anybody else have any questions? All
I
right.
have one.
Go ahead.
If you're, let's say you have, your trade is on, you executed it, shows up on the footprint, you have your target set. When your price hits your target, it becomes a market order, correct?
When your
When your price is moving down, hits the target.
wait a minute, say that
It
again.
executes.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Okay, you enter the market,
Right?
you enter it aggressively, you become
Okay.
part of the footprint. Price is moving down, you have a target set to get you out at XYZ price. Okay, when that executes, it's a limit order because it's a resting offer, but it becomes a market order when it hits it.
Well, no, hold on. If you're executing to get short originally, so you're selling it to get short. So you're resting, your target's a resting bid to cover that short.
Okay.
It doesn't ever turn to a market order unless you change it.
Does that show up on the footprint also?
No,
That does not?
no.
Okay.
You're patient, you're resting. Now, if it was a sell market order, those are used to get out of a long, that would. Your order was a limit order. And most profit targets are limit orders. You know, they don't have to stay limit orders. You could say, okay, I'm bidding 3 to get out of a short, and bid 3, I'm bidding 3, I'm bidding 3, and 4s are trading, 3s are trading, are not filled. Screw it, I buy 4s. I turn my limit order into a market order because I didn't want to miss 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I'm really mad, and I go through a mouse or two, and maybe a screen.
When you change your order, then it would show up on.
If you change it to a market order, and that's it. All right, so bird in the sky. And yes, I'm going to tell the baby bird story, maybe the afternoon session. A lot of people have heard it. Nobody's heard it live. That's later. Bird in the sky. If someone came to me and says, I want to trade Anthony, and they were 18 or whatever, brand new, I wouldn't teach them anything about the footprint yet. The first thing I would tell them, and I'd show them a chart, something simple, not the footprint, and I said, how would you follow this? And you probably wouldn't know how to answer it. I said, I'm going to tell you how to follow it. Think about looking at a bird in the sky. If it left a trail, what would it look like? The trail are these small birds, and the big ones where the price is right now. If your head doesn't follow it this way, then you're not reading a chart. You don't even have a chance of reading a chart. It's very, very step one. And most people don't do this when they look at a chart, follow it. And not that you would do this to follow a chart, but if I were to exaggerate it, that's what you do. That's what I'm doing when I look at a chart. I'm following this. Forget about your periodicity for now. I'm going to tell you a great one. But you got to make sure it's followed correctly. I also have a quoting exercise that I'm not going to talk much about, but I tell people, and think about this for a second. How many people, raise your hand, been to a live auction? All right. What do you hear? An auctioneer, 3 bid, 4 bid, do I hear 5, do I hear 5, 6, 6? His job is easy because the price only goes one way up. I could go in there and do it better than him in 20 minutes. And because it's what do we got to deal with? Up, down, sideways, down, down, up, down, up, down. That's harder to follow. So could you imagine if you don't know how to quote a market, how are you going to follow it? If you can't follow it, how are you going to trade it? I don't care your time frame. Find out things that are wax on, wax off concepts in Karate Kid that make sense and are pulled together. The quoting exercise of being the auctioneer, I think, is step one, no matter your time frame. You follow it better, and you're more into the market. And anybody who's actually done it, become decent at it, tells me, man, you're right. Point two, if I'm teaching someone to trade, and they don't do the quoting exercise, I'd fire them. I'd test them, and I'd fire them. Oh, I was trying to do it. I don't really get it. Good. You're done. Go become a plumber or a pilot. Point and figure. I'm not going to get into all kinds of expertise on point and figure. Number one, because it would be boring. Number two, I don't understand it that much. I just understand it for rotation. Let me go back to this slide. 1 second. I got this remote. I'm standing by it. So what is this here? Sure, Phyllis, go ahead.
So he was speaking of the volume profile, and you're talking about the footprint. So how do you, which one carries the most weight?
Well, both. We're going to bring them together as we go through this week. But good question. So these are just candlesticks. For me, when I look at this, the first thing my eyes go to is this low, that high, that low, this high, that low, this high, and that rotation. I don't know what the periodicity of this candlestick. I'm just trying to give you a sense that you need rotation for a location. I put that phrase in so you remember it. Again, take a candlestick. What does it equal? All these numbers in the footprint. We have a better sense of where these numbers come from than we did maybe 20 minutes ago. But we have to think of bars as up bars and down bars. Let's assume this is an up bar because it is. Which means what? If it's a 5-minute bar, what creates a new bar? Every 5 minutes. 60 minute or every 60 minutes. That's easy. P&F is a little bit more difficult, but not too difficult to understand like the back of your hand. If it's a 4 P&F, and let's assume this is, and it's an up bar, which it is, it's always tracking the high of the move. And if the high of the move ever gets retraced by 4 ticks, this is a 4 PNF, then another bar will form, and that'll be a down bar. So think about that. It's always an up bar is always tracking the high of the move. If it goes up, like 3, 4, 5, 6, and goes down 5, 4, no, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then net back to 6, yeah, it retraced 4 ticks. So it's easy and accurately to assume that it's a long up bar and it's a 4 PNF. Man, that's a pretty strong move. Why? Because the people who were short couldn't get out. They didn't really give it a lot of opportunity to get out. It only retraced 4 ticks at the top here after a big long bar. So you could assume that people short never got a chance to get out.
So I have a
Big-
question.
Go ahead.
So the down bar opened at the price where the red 377.
No, not necessarily. Well, yeah, you're right.
And then it just oscillated up and down from there.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if it goes up by 4 ticks off the low, the next bar will be created, and that's an up bar, and I'll show that. But you're exactly right. Why is it right there? Because this ended up being the high. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, it opened. Went up a little bit, down here. Always tracking whatever the low is. So, let's say this ends up being the low. 1, 2, 3, 4 will open another bar, and that'll be an up bar. Now you get the rotation. P and F. Once I was turned on to it, I only look at minute charts for higher time frame and perspective. Going off what Christine said, this thing rallies 4 ticks. The next bar is formed, and that's an up bar, and so on. The story starts to get told. Down bar up. Well, let's get rid of that. Down bar, up, up, way down. Now, to segue us into not a lot about the thin spots just yet, but it's not coincidental that the market holds that purple line. And because the market got fast in here, we're not going to get into too much detail of that. But again, the story is a little easier to understand because it's easier to read. And that's what a lot of people don't realize, and you guys got to realize it too. Maybe in the past you had this problem, but know that people are risking a lot of money, and they don't know this. They have no idea of highs and lows and just really things that are simple but very important, and yet they're risking their own money. So it's not basic if you understand it. But you got to understand it like the brake pedal is on the left, the gas is on the right. The guy in front of me stops, I don't have to think. If I do, I'm going to hit him. Reaction, diligent reaction. When you get good, your mind will remember, well, wait a second. I just checked the mirror a half second ago, nobody's in the right lane. I'm even going to be a better driver, I'm going to get over. But you're reacting diligently instead of being stuck saying, why is this happening? What the hell's going on? Well, you dumb ASS, Trump Jr. just released emails, and everybody is getting short because they're worried about this. You got to react. If you're not reacting, you're way behind. And if you work for me, it's a fireable offense. It really is. All right, so let's go into just to, in a way, recap. The X in the middle, and I kind of opened up this footprint. Buy market orders on the right, sell market orders on the left. On the left of what? The X in the middle, all right? And the corresponding price at which that they got triggered. Now, I'm going to walk you into a little bit of the filter. How are we doing on time? When am I supposed to end? I forgot. All right. So the footprint filter takes some of these numbers and says, you know, sometimes these numbers are important, sometimes just too much noise. How about if we were to take the filter down and tell a story and get into why it would be important to see big players in the market. A lot of you guys have heard this story. And for this example, punch a guy in the face. Carl, stand up. No, I was just joking. If I punch a guy in the face, and he doesn't flinch, I'm running the other way. When I was a kid, I'd stay and get beat up. Now, I'm mature. I'm still punching a guy in the face, but I'm running away if you don't flinch. So, when does the market do that? When does someone enter with big buy orders and then look like this because the damn thing didn't rally? I don't know about you, but if I get long and it doesn't rally, I start to look like this, right? And then if you get big buying that should move the market and it doesn't, there's a clue. Remember, if you're playing cards and the guy doesn't normally touch his hat and then he does, it's not something that normally is happening, there's a clue. So when a lot of people, novices, will say, I'm waiting for the buying to come in. Waiting for the buying to come in, it's too late, you already be long. Probably already reacted to it. You're waiting for the buying to come in. Wait for the buying to come in and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And then maybe, just maybe, the probability is for it to top off and go down. Does this work every time? Every time. No, it doesn't. It's a probability game. And it all is about trying to qualify something by saying, whoa, big buying and the market did not rally. What's going on? And then potentially you could see an exodus. The other thing I always want to make mention is what makes price go up? A lot of buying? Yeah, kind of. But more importantly, a lot of people that are buying, or I'm sorry, trying to buy, and they can't get filled. What makes the price of a house go up? One person bidding on it? No. 3 people bidding on it. Do all 3 get the house? No. Only one. But the other 2 were influential on direction, weren't they? Price rallies because people have to buy it and they can't get it, right? And when you get any kind of clue of where I got to buy it, or in this case, sell it, you're starting to get people reaching and chasing. Where's this trapped information coming from, right? Where can I find out a better spot to get long? In my theme of keeping things simple, let's say you had resistance and you see this happen. Take a shot, take a shot. There's some other things I'm going to show you with better probability, but understand a filter and big size. And by the way, you trade individual stocks, there's a certain amount of shares, block shares, that you can use to filter. Any market has a particular size that would be deemed big in it. I like around 200 in the S&Ps. Now, how to best use the footprint filter? Number 1, recognize it. Number 2, what questions to ask. In other words, did it go up and it should have? Did it go down and it should have? Right? The guy's touching his hat, he's probably bluffing. The guy buys it and he's stuck and he looks like that face where he's like the holy you-know-what moment. And now you got recognition with the right questions. What did that flow do? Now, in asking that question, did the big size move the market? If the answer is yes, good chance it's near-term support or resistance. If the answer is no, it's to punch a guy in the face and a big buyer can't move it up, probably going to move it down, probably. But again, if it's yes, it's like, well, I'll buy it with him. Too late, it already probably rallied. Again, you got to see you got to do the opposite. Trading is all about opposite of what intuitively works in other industries. It really is. That's why a lot of people struggle with it. There's other reasons why people struggle with it, but one reason is if you're wrong a lot in business, you're probably going to be out of business. If you're wrong a lot in trading, you're supposed to be. And what other business are you supposed to be wrong? It's trading. So I want you to remember this, and I necessarily wasn't planning on saying it during this slide, but it comes to mind, I want to make sure I cover it, and that is, if you're in business, you have employees, you write them checks. Why? Because they're doing a job, you pay them for growth. Or marketing, right? Your trading losses are like marketing outlays or like employee outlays, right? You fly for United Airlines, right, George? They fly, they make money, but they got to have an outlay, which is your check. They're not going to say, oh, I don't want to do that. If they said that, they'd have no pilots, right? And couldn't fly. If you don't want to have any losers, go become a plumber. You're going to have losers. You want to manage them. You want to expect them. You want to be consistent. I always tell people, oops, sorry. I'd rather,
Sorry, that's what you said?
I always tell people, sorry, yeah. Usually, that's what I have to tell them. No, but I always tell people that if you're not good at being wrong, you're obviously in the wrong business. So it's hard to be good at being wrong, whether it's an argument about sports in a bar or with your spouse. Once you put your opinion out there, and I think I might even say this in a later slide, it's hard to pull that back, right? I'm going to get in that in, I think, the B2B segment. But strip that out. It's not so personal. It's not that big of a deal, every decision you make. Trades are stupid, and that's the way you want to look at them. Trades are stupid. Think about this. If a successful trading career is thousands and thousands of trades, why the hell would any one of them be that important? They're not, right? Use them, abuse them, and get on with it. And if you're inconsistent, what I was going to say, and that is, I'd rather someone be consistently bad at something. Because then I could say, this sucks, let's stop doing this. But at least we could qualify and quantify it's not working. A lot of problems traders have, and I do when I'm not trading well, is you're not really consistent at anything. And sometimes the market is a problem with that, where what worked today didn't work yesterday. What worked today isn't going to work tomorrow. You're like, what changed? Well, markets changed. You have to change. You got to be flexible. But you got to be consistent. So you know, am I missing something? Because your statement only tells you so much. Winners, losers, average, that's stuff you did. How about stuff you didn't do? How about things you missed? The invisible statistics are your most important, but they're hard to find. They're invisible. You can't, it's hard to find missed trades. Why? Because they don't come out at you. But yet you had a bunch of misses. I remember someone saying, I got this strategy and that absolutely sucks. I said, tell me about it. And he tells me about it. And it had nothing to do with the strategy. And he thought he was trading that strategy. And I'm like, you're criticizing something that you're not even using. You're putting the wrong person in jail. And that happens to people all the time. Remember, your mind is got you on a leash and wants you on a leash. You got to flip it around. Think of you walking down the street with a little brain on a leash. That's how you got to be, because your mind is not wired to be successful and good at being wrong. So this is a filter chart. Remember what we said. This would be an up bar, up, down, up, way down. What are these two grains? Big buyers. Got to go up a couple ticks, come back down. Why are the other ones zero, by the way? Because no size of over 200 traded aggressively. Remember we did the exercise here? They were all one lots. So they wouldn't show up here. But if someone had 200 to buy and took out the offer, he'd be this guy, 210, or this guy, 300. You don't know at this point in time that the market's not going to rally. We don't know that. But after a couple bars are laid out, you're like, man, I think it should have rallied, and if I got resistance here, maybe I'll pull the trigger. And I gave it time for it to rally, and it just couldn't. And maybe this happens. Now, I'm not cherry picking good images. We're going to show some live stuff like tomorrow, or just go back and pick instances of this stuff. Just remember, the filter, you're asking where the big orders. After you buy it, you're a seller. And this is the sell, sell, sell of people exiting because they couldn't get the satisfaction of the upside. Build yourself a story. Back to the dome. Putting a footprint next to it. We could kind of assume every one of these prices, these are the aggressive buyers and sellers in it. Remember, these were the patient buyers, sellers, buyers, and here's the rotation. Up bar, down bar, up bar, down bar, up bar. 4 PNF is that 4 ticks off the high, 4 ticks off the low. If it's a 6 tick or a 6 PNF, what is that? 6 ticks off the high, right? 6 ticks off the low. Hell, we got 12 PNFs and 24 PNFs. What does it do? It allows you to keep stepping back and get better perspective. None of this stuff is going to make you a millionaire in a vacuum, by the way. But when you bring it together, you're going to give yourself a better chance. And by the way, that's the mission statement that I had with this Edge course. I can't promise anybody's going to make $1 million by listening to me. I'm just trying to give you your best shot at it. And not so much, I could say with confidence, I'm helping you turn over a stone that's necessary to turn over. Now, I added this nifty little picture here with the bull because he represents just what happens in the filter. This is every 1, 2, 3, 5 lot up in here. This isn't. Same exact pattern because it's the same exact market, but only, I'm not going to zoom in, but only showing you potential support. Remember when I said if buyers come in and it rallies it right away, good chance it's near-term support. The bull's horns come out and the market doesn't coincidentally just lie on here and rotate and use this as the bottom consolidation. It's not a coincidence. It's because these big buyers came in and shot this market up. I wrote this in because I wanted not to, I think I might have mentioned this, but information and skills do not become understood until they become simple. The example is driving a car. Let me say that again. Information and skills do not become understood until they become simple to you, right? I can't build a deck. But if I learned, at some point it'd be simple, right? Go through the motions. How complicated was it for you guys to fly a plane? It isn't now, right? A lot of things are simple to you, not simple to me, but you understand it. You got to the point where you made something simple for yourself. Same thing in trading. If you're not understanding it in its true simplicity, then it's hard to say you understand it and therefore get any confidence.
But you don't know, when you see size on the tape, you don't know if they're initiating position or closing one out. You don't care?
Great question. Well, it's hard to know that, so I would care. I would like to
You
know.
might kind of know by time of day, if they tend to initiate.
That's more of a guess than any kind of accurate assumption. So what you got to do is think about it this way. If I could know, I'd like to know, and that's a whole nother discussion, but you're not going to be able to know. However, there's still buyers and there's still sellers, right? Whether they're closing a short position, they're a buyer, or opening a long position, it still has the same influence, or should have the same influence as far as rallying. It's still buying coming in and big buying that's coming in and rallying. I don't want to say I don't care, but if you can't find that information, then you're going to just have to strip it down to what we have.
Second wave of a move, that's probably.
It's probably, and you could use that, right. To me, I want to know a reaction of big size. You're right? And so is the opening, closing, unless you see his brokerage account, we're not going to find that out, so let's not try to go down that rabbit hole. It's a great question, and I get it a lot, and it's just like he's still buying it, and it should rally the market. If it does, great. If it doesn't, even better.